Boys, this is a 6P of the Module 5, and it's going to be on the goal kick which was held or completed at Kogarah Oval today, the Eels versus the Dragons. Here's a video of Jake. So that's the goal kick. We'll have another look at it. That's the goal kick there we're looking at. Now, the first part of the marking criteria asks us to nominate to identify the bones in the movement. The concern I had for a lot of the boys was, and the same with the muscles, they just read off the names of the bones, and I didn't know whether they knew where they were or not. So, for example, look at the upper body. So we're going to be talking about the clavicle, the scapula, which is the posterior, the humerus, the radius, which is the thumb side, and the ulna. When we're looking at the leg, we're going to be looking at the femur, the patella, the tibia being the big thick one down the middle, and the fibula being on the outside. We talk about the foot. We've got the tarsals, we've got the metatarsals, and then if we go to the back, we've got the right at the end of the toes, we have the phalanges. So they're the main bones that are involved in the movement. The key being here was actually to identify them, not just read them out. Same with the muscles here. Talk about upper body. So we've got the biceps, we have the triceps on the back of the arm, we have the deltoids, which is the shoulder, we have the latissimus dorsi, and one I've left off would be the trapezius, which would be up in here leading to the shoulders. We talk about the leg, we're looking at the quadriceps, we're looking at the hamstrings at the back, we're looking at the tibialis anterior, we're looking at the gastrocnemius and the soleus, which both work together. For our stabilisers, we're talking about the erectus spinae, which is at the lower back, and the rectus abdominis. So they're our muscles. It shows that I know where they all are. So I've got here some joint actions. So I've got the 3 pictures which I'm going to be looking at for our joint actions. Now let's just pay a little bit of attention to a couple of pictures here for a second. First of all, what we've got is what leg flexion happening. So this is a little bit of leg flexion occurring here with the left leg as he comes in to kick it. So what we have, the reason why it's leg flexion is because it's at the knee joint, it's bent, so the angle between the 2 bones here is decreasing. That's why it's flexion. If we look at our left foot, we can say here for our left foot that it's going to be from dorsiflexion as it is now into plantar flexion. Alright, so it's going to go from dorsiflexion to plantar flexion. And the third one we can talk about is our arm. At the moment, our arm's being abducted, so it's been taken away from our body. If we progress to our third picture, you'll see where it's come back to the body here. So we're looking at a little bit of abduction here. So the arm starting close to the body, and then being taken away, but then coming back to the body, or closer to the midline of the body. So that's going to be our abduction. I've also included a little bit here of, for our head, looking at a little bit of depression here in the head, in these 2 pictures. Progressing too, so the chin almost against the shirt, a little bit to elevation here. Right, so there are 4 joint actions. So we've got flexion to extension, in particular here on the leg. Right, we can see so flexion into extension, all the way to the end here, nice and straight. We've got dorsiflexion into plantar flexion, so the toes are up, all the way to the end here, toes being down. You can see here, especially in the kick. We've got abduction. So the arm's been taken away to the body, compared to adduction, it's coming back to the body. There's less of a gap. And the last one being the head, depression here to elevation. That's our joint action. If we talk about our agonist and our antagonist, if we go back to our first picture here, we're looking at flexion and extension. So in flexion here, the leg, the agonist is going to be the muscle that's doing the work, the one that's going to be shortening, and the antagonist is going to be the one that opposes the agonist muscle, and it's going to be the one that's relaxing. So for example, for the flexion here, when we talk about flexion, we're looking at the agonist being the hamstring, because the hamstring is going to be shortening, with the quadricep being the antagonist. As we progress further down the picture here, to see where it goes from flexion to extension, you'll notice that the agonist becomes the quadricep, which is going to shorten, and the antagonist becomes the hamstring, which is lengthening. So that's our first agonist and antagonist, looking at the flexion. When we talk about dorsiflexion, so we've gone from dorsiflexion into plantar flexion. Talking here about dorsiflexion, our agonist is going to be the one that's doing the work. It's going to be shortening. Is going to be our tibialis anterior with the agonist. The antagonist would be the gastrocnemius and the soleus. And that obviously changes and progresses to plantar flexion, which is here. You can see the toe being pointing further away from the shin or towards the ground, like we're planting our foot. And our agonist is going to be the gastrocnemius or the soleus, either one of the 2 muscles, with our antagonist being the tibialis anterior. We also spoke about the arm being a little bit of abduction all the way back to adduction. So when we talk about abduction, we're going to be looking at the agonist muscle. So what's causing the movement? The agonist muscle is going to be the deltoid as well as the trapezius, because it's been taken away from the body, so that's going to shorten, with the antagonist being the latissimus dorsi. And when we progress over here to where adduction, coming back to the body, we're going to be looking at the latissimus dorsi, the one doing the work. So that's going to be our agonist, latissimus dorsi, which is under here, just under the armpit, down there on the side of the body. And our antagonist is going to be the deltoid, which are lengthening, deltoid and the trapezius, the two. So it starts off with the trapezius and the deltoid doing the work, being the agonist, but then it finishes with the latissimus dorsi doing the work. So there are our agonist and our antagonist movements. Here's just another picture of video of the clip again. The only thing that I would need to include here for my answer would be to build on the agonist and antagonist is the types of muscular contraction. Now, because we have an agonist and an antagonist, as we've gone through here, and I've showed you that there is opposing muscles where there's muscles shortening and lengthening. As a result of that, it must be an isotonic contraction, because there's the muscles are going to be activated, they're going to be changing their length, shorter and longer. There's an agonist and antagonist, there must be an isotonic movement. All right? Because, as I mentioned, just to confirm again, because I've mentioned that the muscles have changed length. So when we talk here about the quadriceps changing its length, the quadriceps and the hamstrings both changing their length, shortening and lengthening, we know that it has to be an isotonic movement. So it's definitely isotonic is the muscular contraction. We could talk about the stabilizers, the rectus spinae at the back and the rectus abdominis being a isometric, where they're being activated to work, to hold our core in place. That would be suitable as well. So the last part of my little 6P here is going to be some of the feedback from the students that completed the different evaluations. And the main point that I found from out of this was that students really didn't understand the joint action still. So I've just gone through and put some little points together for you. Here's a picture of extension and flexion. In extension is increasing the angle between two bones, whereas flexion is decreasing. So when the leg comes out straight, that's extension, because the angle between the two bones increases. When he bends the leg down to here, flexion, angle between two bones decreases. Abduction, adduction. If someone's abducted, they're taken away from the body, so the arms are taken away. In adduction, if you think of mathematics, they're brought back to the body. So abduction is taken away, adduction is brought back. Supination and pronation. Supination is a movement of the forearm so that the palm of the hand is facing up. Whereas pronation, movement of the forearm so the palm is facing down. Pronation is palm down, supination is palm up. Next one has elevation and depression. So elevation is raising of a body part. We're talking here about the back or the shoulders. They've been pushed up. We're looking here at depression is lowering of a body part, so pushing them back down. Protraction and retraction. So protraction is thrusting forward a body part. You notice here that this lady here is moving the jaw forward. Retraction is moving it back. You can see her jaw. So you can see the difference in the two pictures. Moving forward, moving back. Mandible being the jawbone. Dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. Dorsiflexion is moving the toes towards the shin, whereas plantar flexion is moving the toes away from the shin. If you think of driving a car, when you plant your foot, you push your toes down to the ground, that's plantar flexion. That's a good way for you to remember it. Next one is inversion and eversion. Inversion is when we're moving the toes and the foot moves its way in. Eversion is when it moves itself out. Most people will roll their ankle by inversion, right, where they roll on the outside of their foot, as we are doing, you can see here in this picture, which is why we strap from the inside to pull the foot back up, so there's no problems with inversion happening. Inversion rolling in, eversion rolling out. Rotation, movement around, or movement of a bone around its axis. So for example, the goal swing here, starting position, as he rotates back, the rotation's occurring here at the rectus abdominis and around the rectus spinae. That's rotation. Hyperextension, which a few people spoke about. We know that when the person comes down here, that's flexion, angle between two bones decreases. If he comes back up to being level, that's extension. If he goes beyond its range, that's hyperextension. So moving it up past there. That's hyperextension. And that's the 6P, boys.